All right, let's start with the mic check. All right, mic check, check. All righty. Yes, I got him. He's hyper and he wants to play, but I can't play with him right now because I am streaming about the stream. Aston, stop that. Hey, baby boy, get the tail. Get your tail. No, you want it. Oh, oh, okay. You want to jump down. All right. I will chase you, sort of. That little boy. He just wants to play. Uh, yeah, today's gonna be a short stream, unfortunately. I wanted to have everything ready and so on and so forth before I even started streaming. However, I spent like 20 minutes playing with Dresden and he still wants more. But yeah, I need to get to the stream. So, oh well. I feel bad sometimes. Like, he wants to play, and I have to go to work or I have to, stream or do something. Palette is ready. Anyways, how's everyone else doing? Hope everyone's having a good Sunday. And if you're watching this after the fact, hope you're having a good whatever time it is for you. So today, we'll see if I can get it to work properly. I have a new Zoom system set up, like the one from last stream, but new and improved. We'll see. But yeah. It's funny because like looking at this painting, eh, you know, part of me feels like, oh, it's already getting close to finish. And part of me feels like it's really far from finished, which I realize are like two completely opposing things and doesn't entirely make sense to have like completely, two completely opposite feelings about something. But I don't know. I find, to be honest, I feel that way or think that way about a lot of things, especially in art, which I think, um, I don't know. I don't know. Like, is that something, is that a good thing, a bad thing, or just a normal thing? I don't know. But, um, I also wonder if that's something that's like super unique to humans or maybe unique to humans, maybe I guess compared to like computers. I don't know. Anyways, all right. I don't think I actually need to use the zoom for everything in this painting. But when I start getting into the details, I'll try and remember to turn it on. All right. Okay. I think before I begin, I'm going to put out a little more white because I think I'm going to try and raise the value of this painting a little bit overall. I'm not saying I'm going to repaint everything, but I want to bring a lot of it up in value. I think it's the final of the World Cup today. It might be actually happening right now. I wasn't really paying attention, I'll be honest. If I'm not mistaken, it's Spain versus Argentina. I can't really say that I have a team that I'm rooting for, except for I will say I used to watch soccer, um, and I do remember the um, Argentina was Argentina and Brazil were like the funnest teams to watch, generally speaking. They were the most entertaining when they were like when they were on fire. When they weren't, they it was very up and down. But that's all I vaguely remember. It's been a long time. Alright. So I'm listening to music, but jeez, the music that's coming up is not good to listen to like this. Um, yeah, my what's it called? My like the generated song lists are getting, or the playlists are getting messed up from uh from like my recent music choices. Generally speaking, something worth mentioning when dealing with painting and values and so on. So, um, value, I'm not sure if I'm going to get like the exact definitions correct, like the, technical definitions correct, but value is considered like how dark or light something is, right? And um, our ability to perceive um, dimensions, like 3 dimensions, all of that um, is essentially done through value. Our ability to see light and shadow, and determine the volume of things and so on. So value is often considered like the most important in painting and drawing. Um, and there's truth to that. That's why you can if you see things in black and white, you can still understand like their shape, their form, um, their volume versus, um, you know, you don't need the color for a lot of that information. Mm, But we are very people are also very drawn to color. Anyways, that's a second point. Sorry, I got sidetracked a little. So value is like, you know, king in a lot of ways in painting and drawing. And um, sorry, sometimes it's hard to talk and paint at the same time. So we associate, um, like if you want to, so if I got the totally sidetracked in my brain, but yeah, if you want to raise the value of something, right? So you want to make it lighter in painting. The natural thing to do is add white, right? The problem with adding white, generally speaking, is when you add white to paint, it becomes, assuming you're using titanium white, it becomes chalky and it changes the color and you know, um, it, um, it sucks out all the saturation. Um, so one of the things that usually is taught when painting, like when teaching painting, is to not reach for white, to just raise the value. And same thing with black. Black's even worse in a lot of ways because it really sucks out the values or the saturation. I mean, and like that's why you get, muddies up the color. That's not really true. And I use black all the time, but that's it's, you know, it's got its issues, but it's very, very useful. So what I'm trying to get at is in a computer, it's a little different because of how digital works, but in Paint, if you want to raise the value, you can add white, which raises the value, but also can suck the saturation out. Um, or you can add paint that um, has a higher value, but then they can also often change the color as well. So the perfect solution would be a paint that you could add like white that would just raise the value. Unfortunately, such a thing does not exist, so there is no perfect solution. I don't have the cure all. There is none. You have to one of the like struggles. Um, and honestly, the best solution is recognizing the limitation of your materials. Because as soon as you recognize the limitation of it, you can at least work within its bounds, you know. Um, Nicholas Uribe, one of my favorite painters, who I've mentioned many times, he did a series of paintings, um, or I think it was a series. At least it was at least a couple, but I know he did at least one. I thought he did more than one, where he would have like he wouldn't use white, so his lightest color was like something like uh, I think he did lead tin yellow once, and I think he's done other colors. I don't remember. And those colors, they're much darker than white. You might think of them as, like, really light colors, but once you, like, put them up against white, it suddenly you realize just how dark they are, how low their value is. Either way, you can do a painting like that. It's just everything, all your highlights, all your brights look yellow. You know, uh, is it Andrew Kadima or Adam? Yeah, Andrew Kadima. He does paintings of all kinds with all kinds of like themes and different colors, like really like fun challenges type of paintings. And he's done paintings with like, two colors and, all kinds of stuff like that, where like the brightest color is a really dark color and stuff and so on. He's done all of that, and the same thing. You can see it once you work within the bounds of your, you know, of your materials. Like you can't do everything. There are limitations, but you can. What you can do, you can, um, you can make what you can do work if you understand the limitations, I guess. Um, so yeah, but in this painting, when I want to raise the value, uh, you know, I'm going for white because I don't mind desaturating everything and making it more, um, you know, make not just making it lighter, but also making it um, like washed out. That's okay with me because of the feeling I'm trying to go for it. I could I debated on this painting, like, do I want to go dark with it? Because I could easily, light it very dark and moody. However, I decided to go with much brighter, lighter, even over the top on how light it is because I thought that, along with like the smiley face and everything, just worked so well to convey like one feeling, certain type of feeling. And then if you think about it, you know, and you could take the opposite from it, I guess, or something different. I thought I like that. So that's why I went very bright with this. I will say one thing though, I will say is that I am sad that there aren't good neon um, oil paint. There are some neon oil paints. I do have some actually. But when I say there aren't any good ones, what I mean, I'm not trying to take away from the paints that exist, but they're not light fast. And they admit they're not light fast because they can't be light fast. Um, what's it called? Those pigments just they're fugitive, or they will fade over time by their like nature. They just it's not an oil painting issue. It's a pigment issue. I do wish that they could figure that out because I would love to be able to use some of those colors, you know. Um, and I don't. I've seen there's a bunch of people online who use like these really bright colors. And when I'm talking bright, I'm talking like the fluorescent pink and stuff like that. Like these are colors that are very bright. And I I don't know. I guess if you're using them for reproductions or whatever, it's fine. or you um, put it under UV blast, or um, if you wait and put it, what's it called? Use UV varnish. That can help too. But all that helps. It doesn't solve the problem, of course, but there's not a real solution here. Anyways, I wish they would. I wish they would solve that and create oil paint out of those pigments. I will say I do have some fluorescent. I did a John Wick painting with some of those paints, and they were not very fun to work with. Part of the reason they weren't fun to work with was because they were alkyd paint, not like oil paint, like strictly oil paint, and they got gummy real fast. I didn't like that. But the other reason they weren't really fun to work with was um, they what's it called? Um, you can't really mix them, right? Like they're very transparent, and you can't really mix them. As soon as you mix anything in with them, they like die. All that like beautiful saturation, everything just kind of comes apart, and that was unfortunate. Hey, Des, just got back from a walk. Good for you. How are you doing? I was talking about the neon oil paints I have, and like the neon pigments, and how there's no real good neon pigments out there. And then I was talking about the fact that the paints I have that are neon colored are like they're alkyds, which was not really fun to work with. And then additionally, um, they're very transparent, and you can't really mix them because as soon as you mix them, like all that beautiful neon aspect of them just kind of dies, and they become muddy and like more like regular, oil paints, but still fugitive and still problematic. Really. For anyone who ever tries my palette, hey, let me know what you think about it. Um, just a recommendation when you do use it and use phthalo blue. I don't think you could see, but I barely touch like the corner of my brush to it and use very little usually. Like unless I'm mixing up a big thing of it for something in particular. Yeah. Like just a couple bristles is usually enough to you don't need to like scoop up a bunch of the paint. It's phthalo blue. It's just like that. Otherwise, you're just not going to be able to manage. That's my recommendation. Like start like ridiculously small because you can always add, but once you over overdo it, you you're not gonna like you might as well just set that pile aside and you know start a new pile and clean your brush because it will stay. Having said that, because of that, I feel like it's a very if you're careful with it, it's a very cost effective paint. All my other paints, I'll be honest, all my other tubes of paint, I prefer to buy like large tubes, because they're cost effective. So, but for phthalo, it's like, yeah, small tube's fine. Oh, that's weird. Hold on a second. Let me look at something. Oh, okay. So yeah, phthalo a little goes a long way. I know I've brought a phthalo up before, but yeah, just the tiniest little dip, and with like the corner of my brush is usually all it takes. And like I said, unlike all my other paints, I generally am fine just getting this small tube. A large tube is more cost effective, technically speaking. Um, so if you're positive set, this is it, then yeah, but get the larger tube. But if you're going to travel or you're trying out different brands or whatever it is, get the smaller tube. But like I said, once you find the one you like and you're like, yeah, this is unlocked in, larger larger tubes are definitely more cost effective if they offer them. Not all brands offer, you know, not all brands offer large tubes of all their colors, unfortunately. Yeah, I think it's funny. We generally speaking, we associate like bright light colors with like happy stuff, and so on. I do find that interesting how, you know, how strong some associations with colors are. And, some are absolutely manufactured or not real, but some probably are very much like, I want to say, hard coded in, but it's probably probably a lot of evolutionary stuff going on in there to get us to this point that is why we associate certain things with, you know, why the association is there. Let's say I did mess up the bottom edge of the toaster. I have to fix that. Hey, Des, when you're back, how are you doing? If you're still listening, I fortunately probably only going to be streaming for another like 20 minutes. I wish I could stream longer today. And you can blame Dresden for a slightly shorter stream because like I said earlier, he wanted to play and I felt bad just leave him. So I played with him for a while. He wanted to play even more, but at some point I was like, okay, but I gotta go stream. I always feel bad about that though. It's tough though. These cats are so dumb. They want to play, but then when you want to play with when you oblige them after a little while, they just sit down and it's like they're only good at playing in like short bursts, and then they want you to do it again later. Really annoying. Think about this sometimes when I'm painting, but when I mix black and blue, I think about this a lot, especially if you're an old school comic book fan, you might know what I'm talking about. But back in the day, I used to see this mostly with Venom when he was in comics, but it really applied to a lot of things. Is that when they would print with black, like his Venom suit is all black, and it was really interesting because they'd print it where his suit is black, but there would be times where what they would do is for the line work, because his suit was black, what they would do is they would leave white lines instead of black lines, right? So they'd kind of reverse it. But they would color the white lines blue because of the way that the printing, um, because of the way the printing works. What they do is um, they print it in CMYK, so it's like 4 plates where they put down a flat color of whatever that is, whatever color that is, what for that plate. And so they put black and then they'd put the other colors on top of it. And so what would happen with the blue is it wasn't earlier printing wasn't plate printing wasn't the most accurate in the world, and it would sometimes shift, or they did, um, or maybe they didn't color it very accurately. That could also be the case sometimes. either way, what would happen is the blue would cover the black. Now, you would think that it's black, so it wouldn't matter if the blue's on top of the black, but it would. You could still see it, and it would make it, you know, the black look blue, but also darker in a way. I don't know if it was actually. I don't know if the value of it was actually darker or have actually been lighter. I don't know. I'll be honest. That's something I don't know because I never checked it, and I don't know if I can check it now. Either way, um, I always think about that when I mix my black, how how it looked more saturated, and how you know how that stuff can influence. That's all. So when you that's one of the reasons they say not to use black because it's such a quote unquote it's reporting like dead color. It's not really obviously, but it can feel that way in comparison sometimes. But when you mix it, it naturally has the mixed color in it. So it and you're not people aren't perfect at mixing, so it naturally has hints to it, which makes it feel more alive. So you can achieve the same thing with quote unquote regular black paint. You just have to know what you're doing and pay attention to it. Another thing that's interesting about black is how shiny black often looks darker, and the easy way to show that is the difference between a what's it called? Um, if you take a painting that has sunk in a bit, and then and then you know oil it out or varnish it and bring it back, the darks look much darker. Um, yeah, glossy often these things that are glossy often look darker. However, what I was what I'm getting at is that even though they might look darker, the blackest black paints are all matte because you want them to absorb as much light as possible, and being matte is the way to do that. Such a weird contradiction. I don't have a good answer for it, you know? I've seen it also with I don't know if I'd call it pottery, but I guess because I'm thinking of some vases and stuff that I've seen that are black, like completely black, but they're what's it called? They're completely black but very shiny. So you get very glossy. They get this interesting thing where it's very, very black, but yet it reflects a lot of light, which kind of a contradiction. But I think the difference is between the paint and the blackest black. They're trying to not reflect any light versus the perception of black. I think that's the difference there. I wonder what would happen if you compare the world's blackest black, to something that is shiny but seems very black. Well, I wonder. I don't know if anyone's done that before. that up right there. Okay, I messed up some of that even more, but that's I'm gonna leave the well, say that, and now I'm gonna go right back to it. Okay, I'm gonna adjust the value quickly of the shadow, and then I'm gonna leave it for now and move on. Come back to it. But I want to adjust the value of it so it doesn't throw everything off. The reason I want to lighten up the value of the shadow is because I'm trying to brighten everything, and if the shadow is like super dark in comparison, it'll look weird. And the reason you're getting this weird like dual color in the shadow type of thing is because of the like extreme colored lighting that's happening, where they're filling in parts of the other to a degree. Although I'm probably overdoing it. Probably more accurate. Anyway, that I was moving on. Let's move. Some of this, some of this painting, unfortunately, fortunately might not be the right word, but some of it is invented or modified, right? Like it's not a perfect, I'm creating a one-to-one of what I see. And that has both positive and negative to it. It is dry, some of it isn't. Honestly, that's not a great way of painting, in my opinion. I hate working on paintings when it's like that. I don't recommend it. unless you're definitely working on like very different areas. Because big paintings are an exception. If you're like, I'm working on this part right now, and other parts are dry, fine. That's different. I'm mostly talking about the sections you're actually working on. This is like light reflecting off of like black plastic or anything shiny, black that's shiny is very challenging. It's like similar to painting shadows on like white objects. Our brain has a tendency to want to make them lighter, yeah, lighter than they are. Like our brain says, "Oh, this is a white object, so so it must be white." Like, yeah, that's true, except for the lighting changes that, and then it says, "Oh, this is a reflected light. It must be bright." Like, yeah, but it's a dark object, and just sometimes it doesn't need to be as bright as you think it's going to be. Right. Unfortunately, that's it for today. Very short stream. I know. Um, I gotta call it a day, unfortunately. I wish I could keep painting right now, but yeah, cannot. So thank you all for watching. Trying to thank anyone who is watching after the fact or is lurking. Thank you, appreciate it. I appreciate everyone watching, even if it's not the live stream, it's the replay. But yeah, have a great rest of your weekend. Uh, oh, I'm sorry, Des. I'm sorry you're not feeling well. Go lay down. Yeah, I hope you feel better, Des. Um, but yeah, have a great Sunday, and I'll be back Thursday at the latest. Hey, Cookie Monster. I was just ending the stream. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Sorry, bad timing. It happens sometimes. But yeah, I have to end the stream, unfortunately. So thanks for stopping by. I'll be back Thursday at the latest. But yeah, have a good one, everybody.